Hello and welcome to the Be Glad movement. My name's Pollyanna and I'm on a mission to bring you as many stories as possible of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. And today I'm joined by Lucy. Say hello, Lucy.
Hi everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to just get out of the way and let you dive straight in and tell your story. So over to you.
Thank you so much for having me. What you've created here is really, really good. So I'm so glad to be a part of it and to inspire everyone and help them on their journey in any way that I can.
Awesome, thank you.
So a little bit about me. I have always struggled with my mental health. So I have severe anxiety. Obviously, I still manage it now. I don't believe that it ever truly goes away, and that it is an ongoing struggle and has to be managed daily. So I've done that myself through personal development, which was first introduced to me by my counsellor when I had to see a counsellor after several panic attacks and anxiety and depression started to affect my work.
Right.
So she recommended a book to me on mindfulness, and from there I just started to find as much out about personal development and just learn as much as I could and added it into my day. And now I have created a full morning routine, which takes me an hour every day. And I find that really gets me set up in the right way. It helps me feel confident. It helps me feel free of my anxiety. And it just gives me a really positive start to the day.
Awesome. So when did anxiety sort of start for you? What was the trigger, or can you remember a time when you didn't live with it?
So I remember when I was in school, I don't think I particularly had anxiety, but I was always very shy and struggled in social situations. I had friends, but I didn't really go outside that group of friends, like outside the comfort zone. Basically, I stayed where I felt comfortable. And then it was when I, in my late teens, really, when I was in school, that I remember the day when I thought something definitely wasn't wrong. I played the sport of bowls, and I was in a bowls club in Brighton, and I just felt like I just couldn't be there anymore. I was there with my family and my friends, and I just burst into tears. I couldn't cope being in front of people. I couldn't cope being in the bowls club. And my mum took me back to my hotel room, and I just sat in my bed all day and cried, and I just couldn't stop.
That must have been quite scary for you, like not really knowing why you felt that way.
Yeah, because it wasn't like something had happened. No one had said anything. It hadn't really been triggered. I think it had all got too much in my mind, and then something in my mind just triggered it.
Right. Okay. And so, having had that experience, did you go and see the counsellor straight away, or was it a little while before you got round to getting any sort of therapy?
So no, I didn't go straight away. I didn't know what it was. Obviously, I just thought I was a bit upset, and I just thought I had a bad day. My parents haven't had any experience with mental health issues, so they didn't really know what it was or how to support me. And so I didn't really know what to do. I didn't even know that the doctors could even help with things like that. I just didn't have to know about any of it.
Right. So what happened next? How did you did you have another episode, or how did you end up?
So the day that I phoned the doctors, I was in a supermarket with my sister. And that was always a big struggle of mine, being in a public place like a supermarket. I always hated like going to a till and paying for things, or having to talk to people that I didn't know. And I think I also felt intimidated a bit by, especially in clothes shops with younger people working there. I just felt really intimidated and lacked confidence around them.
Right.
So my sister had actually just wandered off like any normal sister would, not realizing that her leaving me in that supermarket that day caused a huge panic attack. And the same again, just uncontrollably crying, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to stop it. And she panicked basically. And I looking back, I don't blame her. She saw her sister in that way and she didn't like it, and she ran away. She left me on my own.
Oh, crikey. Is this a younger sister then?
Yeah. So she just didn't know how to handle it. She didn't obviously like seeing me in that way. So she left me, and then I had my car with me, so I was in the car and realised I wasn't fit to drive home. I really couldn't control what I was doing, and that's when I phoned the doctor's surgery then.
Wow, wow, so cool that you, in that moment, you did reach out for help, you know, and that's brilliant. And what did they say? They just made you an appointment, or what happened then?
Yeah, so they made me an appointment with the doctor, and when I saw him, it wasn't a very nice experience, to be completely honest. He was very understanding, and he asked me if there was any issues at work, which there wasn't, any issues with my family, which there wasn't, any issues with friends, which again there wasn't, and his answer to that was, well, the issue is you.
Oh, crikey.
Which obviously isn't really what you want to hear. Now I completely understand what he meant, because he meant it was and how I felt about myself and my life, because there was absolutely nothing wrong with my life at all.
Right. Sure, I guess, yeah, where he was coming from, because quite often you can reason away why you're feeling a certain way. Oh, it's because I had a late night, or it's because I went out boozing, or I didn't eat very well the previous day, that kind of thing. You can usually sort of read, or, you know, something is going on in work or family, and you can reason it away. But when there's absolutely no way of reasoning it away. So what happened after that? Was he the one that suggested you went to see a counsellor?
Yeah, he was. So he referred me to the counsellor, who was a lot more understanding and sympathetic, luckily.
Yeah.
And yeah, she also noticed that I had a few fears. Like driving was one of my fears, and like I've already said, the shopping, being in the shop on my own. So we just started to work on that, and I had a little worksheet where I had to face my fear the same time every week, and I went out and I drove the same journey. It was to my granddad's old house. He is no longer with me, but I felt like that was a really nice journey, so I could take it, I could have that mindfulness and think about him. And then so I would drive to his house, and then I would sit outside his house in the car, talk to him for 10 minutes, and then drive home. So that's how I overcame the fear of driving.
Cool.
Yes.
And do you think it was the regularity of it, like you knew, I don't know which day it was, but like you knew every Thursday you were going to have to go and do that, and also it must have been quite lovely having that time, using the mindfulness techniques and having that time to think about your granddad and spend some time just there talking to him before you drove back home again. So do you think the regularity was part of the process? Do you find yourself that you can just drive around freely now?
Yeah, I'm completely fine now with my driving. But yeah, I think it was a mixture of both. Having the regularity and knowing what day it was kept me committed to that. And having the time with him was like a motivation almost, because I felt really connected to him outside his house where he last lived. So it was like an incentive to get in the car and have to drive there to be able to get to that place.
Sure. Yeah. How lovely. And so tell me, with the other elements, the being in larger, because going to the supermarket and going shopping is something that people have to deal with every day. How did you sort of come to overcome that?
So obviously I've used a few personal development habits to control my anxiety and build my confidence as well, which I think go hand in hand really, because the more confident I feel, the more free I feel of my anxiety, and the other way around as well. So with my morning routine, to be honest, it just makes me feel completely unstoppable. Like I could get in the car, drive 2 hours to a supermarket and drive back now without even a second thought.
Awesome.
It's just that consistent personal development that keeps my anxiety managed, it keeps my confidence high, and as a result then I can continue with the day-to-day activities, including the shopping.
Cool. And what do you do within your morning routine? What does it consist of?
So I start by reading a personal development book, usually while I'm on my pedal bike, because I'm not big on exercise, but I do love movement. So I'm not about to run a marathon or lift heavy weights, but I do like the movement of a pedal bike and getting exercise and movement in the morning.
Yeah.
So I started with that, and then I journal about my thoughts, about gratitude.
Oh, I lost you a minute then. You journal about your thoughts and gratitude, and then what was the last bit?
My achievements and things that I'm proud of.
Awesome.
So really positive journaling, and if there's any negative things that are on my mind, I always make sure I put a positive lesson from them.
That's very much what the Be Glad movement is sort of all about, trying to draw out the positive messages from negative situations. So that's very cool. Awesome. And I thought it was interesting what you said earlier about never truly getting over anxiety, that it's something that you're always going to have to live with, because for me that's such a true statement, that mental health, just like your physical health, which is funny because you've just talked about physical health as well, is something that needs to be worked upon every day, doesn't it? It is something that we don't just go to the gym once and come out looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger or whoever we want to look like. It has to be a daily practice, or a regular practice at least, of looking after your mental health. So you've got your daily routine. Is there anything else that you go above and beyond that you think really helps you with your personal journey through anxiety?
So yeah, mainly it is just my morning routine, but then obviously if I need those habits throughout the day, then I am always saying affirmations to myself in my head. I'll always go back to my journal if I feel I need it throughout the day. And then just a couple of other habits that I do as well throughout the day is listening to podcasts. So absolutely love podcasts, and there's so much you can learn out there about anxiety and how to manage any of your anxieties and all sorts out there for personal development. And then listening to music I find really, really useful as well, because it can completely change my state and my mood.
Really I guess music's so powerful actually, because if a sad song comes on the radio, it does sort of take you down, and then an upbeat pop song can really lift you up, So,
yeah, definitely.
And tell me a little bit more about your family, because you mentioned earlier that your mum and your dad hadn't suffered with any mental health issues, and I'm presuming your sister doesn't either. How did you find that? Because I imagine that would be quite sort of isolating to feel like you're the only one going through this.
Yeah, so my mum was really supportive, and would always come into my room and ask me how I was, and if ever I was upset, she would always comfort me. And my dad, to this day, still doesn't understand what happened to me. And I do understand it now, because it's the last thing you want to see your daughter going through, isn't it? Like, at some points, I had quite severe anger issues as well towards, especially my dad, because he didn't understand it. So if I was crying, he'd say, "Stop crying," and it would end up in an argument about, "I can't just stop crying. Why don't you understand it?" So that was quite difficult, but my mum was really, really supportive through it as well. So that was good.
Awesome. I'm so glad that your mum was able to sort of keep the balance for you, but that must have been really hard, and I can understand why that would turn to anger when you don't feel understood, and especially when you're trying to process your own emotions, for someone to tell you that you should feel a certain way or act a certain way. It's so hard when that's the last thing that you want to do. So that's really interesting. And did you find did you look outside? I know you listen to podcasts, but have you got sort of support networks within, I don't know, Facebook groups or other avenues that you sought help through?
Not at the time, no. So I mainly just, like I say, talked to my mum, did my own personal development. Another thing that I did was almost like journaling, but it was to my granddad. So I'd write down messages to him about how I was feeling, mainly because my dad wasn't understanding, and I knew that my granddad would.
Right.
So that was another tool that I used back then, but no Facebook groups or support groups or anything like that.
Right. I love that you wrote to your granddad, despite him not really physically being there, that you could still use him as an outlet, because a lot of people probably would get even more upset and think, why is Grandad not here to talk to? But I love that you still used him as an avenue to talk to. That's so lovely. But I know that you're actually supporting other people now as well. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what you're up to?
Yeah, of course. So when I had come through the other side and I felt that it was all under control and managed, I just had this big feeling that I just couldn't not share it. So I started just by setting up a Facebook group. So everything that I've set up, including the Facebook group, is what I felt I needed. Right. So like you asked if I was part of a Facebook group, I wish I had been. I wish there was one, but I either didn't look or I couldn't find one at the time. So I created one that is now a really safe space for over 300 women, that they feel really supported. They know that they can post in there at any time. They won't be judged, and they can be honest. They can talk about their friends and family, the support they've got, and they know that it won't leave that group. So it's lovely to have set up a community like that.
That's awesome. 300 women that you're supporting. I love that. That's really, really cool. Well done, you. That's totally taking your negative situation and flipping it on its head and using it to help others. Really cool. Very, very cool. Remind me what it's called?
So the business is called Succeed Now. The Facebook group is called Personal Development for Women Succeed Now.
Oh, awesome. I'll share a link at the end of the video. What would your sort of main advice be to someone who had maybe just experienced their first panic attack, or maybe they've experienced a few? What would you say they should do straight away?
My main advice would just be to talk to somebody, whether it is a friend or a family member or the doctors or whoever. I definitely would recommend getting medical advice when you feel you're ready. I think there is a right time to go, so maybe wait until you do feel ready, but definitely start talking to someone straight away about how you're feeling so you can get it off your chest.
Fantastic. Oh, Lucy, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to say before I sort of round up the video?
No, I'm quite happy. I'm quite emotional, to be honest, but that was deep.
Yeah, do you know, you're not the first person to say that. I think, and I appreciate every single person that comes and tells their story, because it is a very personal story. And I always say, even to the people that write their stories, you know, your story and your voice in your time when you're ready, because it is a massive thing. And I really want to sort of take my hat off to you and salute you and thank you so much for sharing your story, because I really do believe that you'll be able to help someone, and there's going to be someone watching this, and there's probably going to be more than one person that's going to watch this and really feel like, wow, this lady has been through what I'm going through now, and she's overcome it, and she's dealing with it, and she's, you know, coping on a day-to-day basis. So thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I'll just round up the video. If you like this video, please do hit the like and subscribe button, and you'll get notifications when new videos are uploaded. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. If you search @BeGladMovement, you'll be able to find us. And please do get in touch if you've got a story you'd like to share. It doesn't matter if it's something that a similar story to someone else has shared. I really do believe your story and your voice has the ability to help someone in their time of need. So please do get in touch, and I look forward to seeing you in another episode. Many thanks.